Here I am again to proceed on the analysis of the English language based on some biological concepts. In the previous presentation, I cast a look at English taking into account the founder effect. Here I will look at the English language through the lens of another two biological concepts, anagenesis and cladogenesis. Anagenesis and cladogenesis are two types of evolutionary mechanisms. Anagenesis is the transformation of a particular lineage of organisms to a different state, which can be justified as a new species from its ancestral species. Cladogenesis is the splitting of an ancestral species into several new species. The main difference between anagenesis and cladogenesis is that anagenesis is a type of phyletic evolution which occurs only within a single species, whereas cladogenesis is a type of branching evolution. In other words, in anagenesis, one gene pool is converted into another gene pool. In contrast, in cladogenesis, a single gene pool is split into several gene pools. In Wikipedia, we found this definition. Anagenesis is the gradual evolution of a species that continues to exist as an interbreeding population. This contrasts with cladogenesis, which occurs when there is branching or splitting leading to two or more lineages and resulting in separate species. Cladogenesis is an evolutionary splitting of a parent species into two distinct species, forming a clade. This event usually occurs when a few organisms end up in new, often distant areas or when environmental changes cause several extinctions. Cladogenesis is in contrast to anagenesis, in which an ancestral species gradually accumulates change, and eventually, when enough is accumulated, the species is sufficiently distinct and different enough from its original starting form that it can be labeled as a new form, a new species. Note that with anagenesis, the lineage in a phylogenetic tree does not split. End of quotation. So far, so good. In the previous recording, when talking about the founder effect, I said that the founder effect of the English language began as early as 1607 with the Jamestown settlement in the colony of Virginia, followed by the Plymouth colony in 1620 and the Massachusetts colony in 1630. And from that point on, the English language spread out across the New World. Thus, the English spoken and written in the United States today can be said to be that ancestral species which arrived in the 17th century, accumulated change, and eventually, when enough was accumulated, was sufficiently distinct and different from its original starting form that it can be labeled as a new form, a new species, the so-called American English. But seen from a different perspective, considering that the English coming from Europe settled in other regions of the American continent, Canada, and the Caribbean, it wouldn't be senseless to think that there was a cladogenesis in this process. There was an evolutionary splitting of a parent species into several species, forming a clade, or what is the same, I quote, a group of organisms believed to comprise all the evolutionary descendants of a common ancestor. But again, looking at each of the English-based Creole languages, be it in the West Indies, in Africa, the Philippines, and elsewhere, we could regard each and every English-based Creole language as a new form, as a new species, as a case of anagenesis. Thus, I think that in the long evolution of the English language and in all its travels around the world, there have been processes of anagenesis, of cladogenesis, and even the two of them have been present in the same species or resulting language, depending on how we look at it. And very important, in all those travels, the English language was always very well escorted. Yes, indeed. We only have to remember those words attributed to Max Weinreich. A language is a dialect with an army and a navy. Thank you for your attention and feel free to comment and to subscribe.